In the small town of Ravenswood, nestled in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, there lived a young couple named Emily and James. They had grown up together, and their love for each other was strong and pure. One day, James proposed to Emily in the same spot where they had shared their first kiss. Overjoyed, Emily accepted, and they began making plans for their dream wedding. But as the wedding day approached, strange things began to happen. Emily started experiencing terrifying visions and nightmares, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. At first, James was supportive and reassuring, but as the visions intensified, he became increasingly distant and cold. Emily tried to brush it off as pre-wedding jitters, but deep down, she knew something was wrong. On the night before the wedding, Emily discovered a dark secret. James had made a pact with a malevolent entity, trading his soul for eternal life and youth. The entity, known only as the Devourer, had been feeding on James's love for Emily, growing stronger with each passing day. Horrified, Emily tried to flee, but James had become a puppet of the Devourer, and he would stop at nothing to keep her by his side. The wedding ceremony became a twisted ritual, with Emily as the unwilling bride and James as the monstrous groom. As they exchanged their vows, the Devourer emerged from the shadows, its presence consuming the entire town. Emily was trapped in a living nightmare, forced to love a monster who was no longer human. The townsfolk, under the Devourer's control, became twisted, zombie-like creatures, forever bound to the couple's eternal vow. Emily was doomed to spend eternity with the man she once loved, now a monstrous shell of his former self. Years went by, and Ravenswood became a ghost town, haunted by the twisted love of Emily and James. The legend of the Devourer spread, a cautionary tale about the horrors of loving too deeply and the dangers of making deals with malevolent forces. But on certain nights, when the moon is full and the wind is still, you can still hear Emily's screams echoing through the abandoned streets of Ravenswood, a chilling reminder of the eternal vow that bound her to the monster she once loved. As the years passed, the legend of Emily and James's twisted love grew, and people whispered about the cursed town of Ravenswood. But one stormy night, a young couple, Mark and Sarah, stumbled upon the abandoned town, seeking refuge from the torrential rain. As they explored the deserted streets, they stumbled upon the old church where Emily and James had exchanged their vows. The doors creaked ominously as they pushed them open, and a chill ran down their spines. But it was too late. The Devourer had sensed their presence, and its dark energy began to stir. Mark and Sarah tried to flee, but the doors were sealed shut, trapping them. As they frantically searched for an escape, they heard Emily's whispers echoing through the church. "Don't love him," she warned. "Don't love him, or you'll suffer the same fate as me." But Mark and Sarah were too deeply in love to heed the warning. They exchanged their own vows, promising to love each other forever. And as they did, the Devourer emerged from the shadows, its presence consuming them. The next morning, the police found Mark and Sarah's car abandoned on the outskirts of Ravenswood. They were never seen again, but the legend of the cursed town lived on. People whispered about the twisted love that haunted Ravenswood, and how it had claimed another 2 victims. And if you listen closely on certain nights, you can still hear Emily's screams echoing through the abandoned streets, a chilling reminder of the eternal vow that bound her to the monster she once loved. But there's a new chapter in the story. A group of paranormal investigators has arrived in Ravenswood, determined to uncover the truth behind the cursed town. They're equipped with state-of-the-art gear and a determination to face the horrors head-on. Will they survive the night, or will they become the latest victims of Ravenswood's twisted love? The fate of the investigators hangs in the balance, as they delve into the heart of darkness that has haunted the town for so long. The team of paranormal investigators, led by the seasoned and fearless Dr. Catherine Kate McCoy, arrived in Ravenswood on a crisp autumn evening. They had heard the whispers about the cursed town, but they were determined to uncover the truth. As they entered the abandoned church, they were immediately struck by the eerie atmosphere. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the shadows seemed to writhe and twist on the walls. Kate's team began to set up their equipment, eager to capture some evidence of the paranormal activity that was said to plague the town. But as they worked, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. It started with small things. Equipment would go missing, only to reappear in strange places. Strange noises could be heard echoing through the church, like whispers and creaks. But as the night wore on, the occurrences grew more frequent and more intense. The team began to experience strange visions, like glimpses of a twisted, nightmarish world. And then they heard Emily's screams. At first they were faint, but they grew louder and more urgent, until it seemed like Emily was right there with them, screaming in their ears. Kate's team knew that they had to get out of there, but it was too late. The Devourer had sensed their presence, and its dark energy began to stir. As they frantically packed up their equipment, Kate felt a strange, creeping sensation on the back of her neck. She turned to see Emily standing right behind her, her eyes black as coal, her skin twisted into a grotesque grin. "Don't love him," Emily whispered, her voice like a rusty gate. "Don't love him or you'll suffer the same fate as me." Kate tried to scream, but her voice was frozen in her throat. She was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak. And then the Devourer emerged from the shadows, its presence consuming Kate and her team. The last thing Kate saw was Emily's twisted grin before everything went black. The next morning, the police found Kate's team's equipment scattered all over the church, but there was no sign of the investigators themselves. They were never seen again, and the legend of Ravenswood's twisted love grew even more sinister. But the story doesn't end there. A few days later, a mysterious package arrived at the police station. Inside, they found Kate's journal, filled with cryptic notes and sketches of the twisted, nightmarish world she had glimpsed in Ravenswood. The final entry read, "I've seen the truth. The Devourer is not just a monster, it's a manifestation of our own darkest fears, and it's coming for us all."